Well, howdy, everybody. Hope you're doing well. All you BFOD squatters out there, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Barrel Full of Daryl. Season 2, episode 23 now. Yeah. As you know, you join me because I like to talk about music and movies, sprinkle in a little mirth, as well as some other funky ass shit. Yeah. Oh, just to let you know, at least for the remainder of the summer, my episodes will be released every 2 weeks now, from weekly to bi-weekly. And don't forget about the booklet, Tales from Scratch Ankle. Talks about the sponsors that we've all listened to and enjoyed. Also, I have a new booklet. It's Tales of the Scratch Ankle Squabbit. Tales in Tails of the Scratch Ankle Squabbit. Also available at PayHip. And a BFOD merch available at TeePublic, and there are links to these sites in the episode. So have a look, see what you think. Okay. Last week I gave you a mystery music lyric. Does anybody here remember Vera Lynn? Now that's a song on Pink Floyd's album The Wall. It's a short one. It's only like a minute and a half long. Great song. And I got to share this with you. I know Ian won't mind. You guys remember Ian, one of my co-hosts, my stepson? Well, he has a son, my grandson. His name is Isaac, and he's about 20 months now. And Isaac is named after Isaac Brock, the leader of the band Modest Mouse. And Ian and his wife, just a month or so ago, they had a baby girl. And they named her Vera, and she is named after this song. Yeah. One time, Ian's older brother gave him some headphones and said, listen to this song. And it was Vera. And, you know, it stuck. It stuck with Ian. So, now, mystery movie quote. Safety first, Dale, then teamwork. I'll give you the answer to that one next week. If you've been following my podcast, you probably know which movie that's from. Okay, music time. Music. Herb Alpert. Alpert. Herb Alpert. Now remember, my goal in these music discussions is to expose you to a really great artist that you may have missed out on or you're just unaware of. And this is one of those guys, Herb Alpert. And his band is called the Tijuana Brass. Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. Now, he's a trumpeter, okay? He plays the trumpet. But he's also an abstract expressionist painter and sculptor with exhibits in the USA and Europe. Yeah, artistic guy. Now, he has recorded 28 albums that made the US Billboard charts, 14 platinum and 15 gold. And he is the only musician to reach Billboard #1 as both a vocalist and instrumentalist. Yeah. He's also won 8 Grammys. He's won the Grammy for Lifetime Achievement Award, and he's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Okay, so let me tell you who this guy is. Now, he was born in 1935 in Los Angeles, and he's still alive today. He's 91 years old. His parents migrated to the USA from Romania, and they were both musicians. And Herb began playing the trumpet at 8 years old. He was also a member of the USC marching band, and he played in the 6th Army Band during the Korean War. Now, in 1962, he, along with his buddy Jerry Moss, formed the record label A&M Records. A&M, Alpert and Moss. But at this time, he was really struggling to find his own voice, his unique style. And he was frustrated, and he went on vacation to Tijuana. And there he watched some bullfights. And he was inspired by the excitement of the crowd, the mariachi music, and the trumpet call at the start of the bullfight. This inspired him for his style. So he adapted it. And honestly, growing up and listening to his music, I really thought he was Mexican because of his music style. Sounds very Mexican, but he's not. He's not. He's American. So this style that he adapted is best heard in his first hit single, "The Lonely Bull," which was followed up by the album of the same name, released in 1962. Now, in 1965, he released the album "Whipped Cream and Other Delights." Now, this album drew a lot of attention, some of it because of the cover art. It's a little bit risque. It shows an apparently nude, beautiful lady covered in whipped cream and looking teasingly into the camera. And it became the #1 album of 1966, outselling the Beatles, Frank Sinatra, and the Rolling Stones. Yeah, good album. By the way, it's not real whipped cream, it's shaving cream on her. Now, something else also contributed to the band's popularity. In the 1960s and 70s, there was a daytime TV show called The Dating Game. The Dating Game. Now, if you haven't seen it, I'll give you a brief description. There's basically a stage, and 3 directors' chairs are set up on the right-hand side of the stage, and 3 bachelors sit in those chairs. And a young lady comes out on the left side of the stage, and there's a wall between them. She cannot see them. And she sits down and starts asking them questions. And at the end of the show, she picks one of the bachelors to go on a date with. Yeah. And this show used several of Herb Alpert's songs as its theme. Yeah. And in 1968, Herb and his wife appeared on a television special in which, in a rare vocal performance, he sang to her the song, "This Guy's in Love with You," which was never intended to be released. But there were thousands of calls made to CBS about the song, and this convinced him to release it 2 days later. So in 1969, he had a personal crisis, and he declared that the trumpet is his enemy. He disbanded the Tijuana Brass, and he stopped performing in public. Depression, I'm sure. So he sought out a teacher, a guru, a guy who had never played a trumpet in his life, but he was a great trumpet teacher. Yeah, that's Herb's words. And with his guidance, he stated that he realized that the trumpet is a piece of plumbing. The real instrument is me, but not my lips, not my technique, but my emotions. And he had repressed his emotions from childhood, but he got it all worked out and he began playing better than ever. In 1979, he released the album Rise, and the title song, Rise, became a huge #1 hit. His latest studio album was released 2 years ago, 2024, titled 50. What a great career for a trumpeter. Yeah. He stormed onto the scene and with his unique sound, and he hardly ever let up. So, trips on over to the playlist. Got some good songs on there by him. And now a word from our sponsor. I'll be right back. Well, hello, everybody. My name's Jonathan Mordecai Turnipseed. I'm the police chief here in Scratch Ankle, Alabama, but you can call me sir. Now, firstly, I have a report on the murder of Blind Melon Willie Ray Stanley. I was able to track down the perp by looking for blind shoes, which are multicolored Crocs. You see, there's this young lady that's been living in a small trailer behind the Piggly Wiggly in the alleyway. And one day, outside of her travel trailer, there was a pair of multicolored Crocs. So I knocked on her door and started to question her. And she almost immediately confessed to the murder. Now, she's one of those goth girls, and she's very pretty. And yes, seldom seen around here in the Scratch Ankle. And poor old Ernest T. Bass, he must have had a thing for her. He visited her in jail and cried the whole time he was there. That poor little virgin. Okay, and secondly, I had received a handwritten note from Ernest T. about some sort of weird animal on the streets of Scratch Ankle. He described it kind of like a cross between a squirrel and a rabbit. Now, I stopped over at the Piggly Wiggly and I told Ernest T. to lay off the moonshine. He rotting his brain out. I reckon that's all I have to say. I just wanted to give everybody an update on the murder of Blind Melon, let you know it's been solved. And thank you for your attention to this matter. And we're back. Movie time. The movie for this episode is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. It's about this guy named Chuck Barris. He was born in 1929 in Philadelphia, and he died in 2017 in Palisades, New York. Now, this guy, he's a real card. He's a real nut. And he made it big in Hollywood as a TV producer, a TV host, a songwriter, as well as an author. Now, he created and produced daytime game shows, including the Newlywed Game, the Gong Show, and the Dating Game. So here's a bit of a tie-in to the music. Herb's songs were played on the Dating Game as the theme. So these shows, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. I told you about the Dating Game. Newlywed Game, basically there are like four newlywed couples, and they get asked questions, kind of personal questions. Now, the husbands will leave the stage and the wives get asked the questions. They write down the answers, and the husbands come back out, and they reveal the answer. It's pretty funny, pretty fucking funny show. And then also the same thing happens when, the wives leave and the husbands answer questions. So that's the Newlywed Game. Now, the Gong Show. Holy shit. I was in the U.S. Air Force when this was on air. Basically, it's a talent show. There's three panelists that judge these talent acts, and the talent acts are terrible. They find these people who just they have no talent, but they get out there and they do it. And if it's bad enough, then one of the panelists will use a big hammer and hit a gong, and the talent guy has to go off stage. So that's the Gong Show. Super crazy, super funny. One of the bits on there is Gene the dancing machine, and Gene is basically a staff, behind the curtains, and he's this big black guy, and he comes out on stage, and they start playing his theme song, and he starts dancing around, and everybody in the audience is doing it, and panelists are doing it, and Chuck Barris, he's the host, he's doing the dancing machine thing. Great, it's great. It's on YouTube, by the way. I advise you to check it out. Now, Chuck Barris, he also wrote a book titled Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. Same title as the movie. And it's a memoir. Well, I like that word, memoir. Now, it tells of his life in Hollywood, as well as his part-time life as a CIA undercover hitman. Yeah, shit you not. In 2002, the movie of the same name was released. It was George Clooney's directorial debut. And it stars Sam Rockwell as Chuck Barris, Drew Barrymore as Penny, Chuck's on-again, off-again girlfriend, Julia Roberts as another undercover CIA spy, and Rutger Hauer also as an undercover spy. And he's German-American. George Clooney stars as Chuck's CIA handler. Now, this movie was a critical success, but it flopped at the box office. It netted only $3 million. And, Clooney, he had convinced Drew Barrymore and Julia Roberts to reduce their salaries to accommodate the $30 million budget. Yeah. So here's the plot. Now, Chuck, he's a very lustful man, and he's often rejected. He can't find love. He can't find what he needs to soothe himself. So he goes to Philadelphia and lands a job as Dick Clark's personal assistant for the TV show American Bandstand. There he writes a successful song, Palisades Park. And he then meets his girlfriend, Penny, and he develops the concept for the TV show, The Dating Game. Okay. Now, ABC gives him $7,500 to create a pilot for The Dating Game, which he does. And when they view it, it's quite lewd, okay? Lewd and lascivious. And ABC rejects it. Oh, by the way, Chuck is a heavy drinker, and he often gets into bar fights. One night after such a fight, Chuck is approached by the CIA agent, Jim Bird, played by Clooney, who recruits him as an assassin, saying he's been watching Chuck and he fits the profile. Now, Chuck's first mention is to kill a man in Mexico, a guy on the CIA list. So he goes down there and he does it. And when he returns home, he learns that ABC has picked up the show The Dating Game. Big time. By 1967, the show is a phenomenon. And Jim, CIA guy, suggests that the winning couple receive a trip to a foreign country with Chuck acting as chaperone. And this will allow him to carry out his foreign assassinations. Now, on his first such trip, he travels to Helsinki. And there he meets female undercover agent Patricia, Julia Roberts. And she sets him up tells him where he needs to go, that kind of thing. And he completes the mission. And when he returns home, he finds out that his other show, The Newlywed Game, has also been picked up by ABC. So, big time. So he and Penny, his girlfriend, decide to move to LA. They move in together, and she just keeps bugging Chuck to marry her. And he just totally resists her. Now Chuck's next mission is in East Berlin. And he meets up again with Patricia, who gives him the assignment. And he's also introduced to the German-American undercover agent Keeler, and together they kill the target. However, Chuck is captured by the KGB, and he is used as bait in a spy swap. And he gets to go home. So in 1976, he creates and hosts The Gong Show, and he really becomes famous. People loved him. They loved the show. But he soon learns that the German agent Keeler had been murdered, and Jim warns Chuck that there is a mole in the agency. Eventually, his TV shows get canceled due to drops in the ratings, and Penny leaves him after catching him cheating. So one night, Chuck walks out backyard, out to his pool, and he finds Jim there, his handler, sitting on the diving board. Jim tells Chuck that he must find the mole or else he is a dead man. Chuck tells Jim that he should do it, and he pulls a gun on Jim. Jim explains that Chuck is, he fit the profile as an assassin. Firstly, his father was a serial killer. And secondly, his mom wanted a baby girl, and so she raised him as a girl. Now we see that Jim is bleeding on the diving board, and he dies. Now, faced with the unpleasant truth about himself, Chuck starts spiraling out, and he has a nervous breakdown while filming an episode of The Gong Show. So he goes into hiding, and he shuts himself away in a hotel in New York. Now, throughout the movie, there are scenes that show him in the hotel. Actually, the first scene shows him in the hotel. He's nude, he's got a heavy beard, very long hair, he's disheveled, and the hotel room's just a fucking mess, okay? And at this point in the film, now we know why. So he sequestered himself, and one day Penny knocks on the door and begs him to leave with her. But again, he says no. Now, Chuck finally cleans himself up, and he goes to meet Patricia in Boston. She greets him at the door and asks him in, and she makes warm tea, and they sit on her bed to drink it. After a few sips, Chuck becomes very ill, and he collapses. And Patricia reveals herself as the mole who has been killing the other agents. But, and it's a big but, Chuck had swapped the teacups, and he was feigning his illness. Patricia then becomes sick, and she dies. So Chuck wins. He returns to LA and he marries Penny. Now, after the ceremony, he sees apparent foreign agents in the crowd. Yeah. In the limo leaving the church, he confesses that he confesses to Penny that he is a hitman and that he has killed over 30 men. Well, she sees it as a joke. She starts laughing. I mean, roaring laughing. And eventually so does he. So he does not correct her. So here's a big spoiler. This is your spoiler alert. I'll give you a few seconds to do what you have to do. Okay, the part about Chuck being an undercover agent for the CIA is untrue. It stems from Chuck's imagination as he was writing the book. And in the book and the film, about half of the story is true, and the other half is entertaining CIA bullshit. So this movie is not streaming for free. I'll let you know that. You can watch it, you can rent it, gas station hot dog price. But if nothing else, I urge you to go to YouTube and watch some of the clips from The Gong Show. Chuck, he's just an absolute nut as the host of this show. Okay. Word of the week. Word of the bye week. Hobo. Hobo. Hobo is a traveler, a person who travels across the country. But the hobo, and as he travels, he looks for work in these towns, and he works for either money or food or both. Compare this to a tramp. A tramp also travels, but a tramp does not look for work. Compare it with a bum. A bum does not travel and does not look for work. Hobo, tramp, bum. Cool. Joke of the bye week. That tickles. What tickles? My testicles. Okay, moving on. Question of the week. Now, last week, I asked, do trees have sex? In other words, are they male or female? The answer is yes. Now, some species are dioecious, having separate trees for the male and the female. Now, this is a case for about 90% of trees. Now, the other 90% are monoecious, with both the male and female parts, but on separate flowers. And then there's co-sexual trees, where each bloom or each leaf has both the male and female parts. Now, the male parts, they produce pollen, and the female parts use this pollen to produce seeds, nuts, or fruit. Okay? Cool, huh? New question of the week. What animal on Earth has the longest lifespan? What animal on Earth has the longest lifespan? And no, it's not Daryl. Thought of the week. You know this saying, it is what it is? I find that irksome, It should be followed up with, so suck it. It is what it is, so suck it. That's how I feel about it. Of course it is what it is. So I added a little bit more to it. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. Okay. Don't forget about the playlist out there. Damn fine music on there. I hope you're listening. I hope you're being entertained. You can contact me if you care to. God knows why. By clicking on the send me a text button in the episode. Clickety click. Or you can directly contact me at bfodpodcast@gmail.com. Ooh. Also, don't forget that you have the option to support this show. If you're loving it and you listen to me all the time, you have that option. And basically, it means that, you give me a few dollars a month. No commitment. And, you can buy me a gas station hot dog. Okay, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed putting it together. Love Herb Alpert and The Gong Show. So you have an assignment. Go watch some videos of The Gong Show, especially one of Gene the Dancing Machine. Okay, so I hope you were entertained. I hope you were a little bit educated. I hope you had a good time. I did. We'll do it again 2 weeks from now. Bye for now.